Hello everybody, I'm Renaissance Craft. Today we'll be talking about the very basics of three-point perspective. In previous videos we've already gone over 1-point and 2-point perspective. Today we're just doing the extremely basics of three-point perspective. This is basically what three-point perspective is 2-point perspective with your horizon line here with an additional vanishing point somewhere else. So what you're doing is you're creating foreshortening and depth one way, and then you're adding a third foreshortening and depth another way. So what you have here is you just have a very basic box shape. You have the first line that goes here, and you can see the extreme foreshortening here. That's going here. So the biggest difference is you're still creating the actual box itself with just that line and that line and that line and that line, like you would 2-point perspective. The difference is, instead of creating just straight horizontal lines, you have a third dot that can be literally almost anywhere. Most people do very extreme, a dot way up top or a dot way down low to create, as if you're looking up or looking straight, like way down, slightly angled at, a scene. A lot of people do landscape or building with this, so you get that aerial view, or you can get the as if you're looking up at the Empire State Building, a very dramatic like view up. So all these horizontal lines are actually very diagonal lines to create the actual box itself. So you have here, you kind of have an extreme line here and an extreme line here, so they almost don't seem like they match up or fit. But what you see here is you got the same thing. These boxes are intersecting here. This is going here, and that's going here to create that box. I was going to do another box here, and I decided not to because, as you can see, it kind of made it look confusing as if these match up, but that wasn't the case. It's this here, and then this going down here would match up and create the actual box itself, creating the actual object. Then what you can do is, you have the opposite here, so you actually have your horizon line up here above, so you're slightly looking down, and then you have your third vanishing point here, and it's creating, as if, the object is coming out of the ground from one point, just blossoming out, and then your vanishing points here, creating the actual depth of the object. So very basic. Once again, you have, a line here and a line here, and then the line going down here. So this line is going to vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2, and vanishing point 3. And then to create the box, you got going to vanishing point 2, 1, 3, 3. And now you just have your very basic box. Added another little box on top of that, which is just creating the same thing. And now you have something as if you're kind of looking down on it from this angle, just over top of it. So that would actually be your level line, and you're looking down slightly. So this is your main focus, and then everything is depth from there, and you're looking down on it. It can create very dramatic looks to it. If you're creating like fantasy, or you're trying to create a very unique and in-depth cityscape or other kind of scenery where you want dramatic angles and dynamic views, three-point perspective is great. A lot of people will do 3 or 4-point perspective for that dramatics. And then, I hope this isn't too light, but you can kind of see, I didn't go into too much detail with this. because it's basically all the same thing. So all I did is you have the point here, you know, have this here, and it's the same thing as the 2-point perspective that I did. I started doing, you know, just a cityscape. It's just very basic. It's very simple. So let's go ahead and do a quick demonstration of it so you can watch it being done. So once again, all you have is 2 points. Now a lot of times when you do 2-point or 3-point perspective, you're actually going to have, you know, like you might have a piece of paper out here taped to your piece of paper, or, you know, whatever you're using, you have something, you know, with your piece of paper taped down or whatever, and your actual points way out here. So you'd have, you know, a dot here and then a dot way over here, as well as, you know, you might have a dot like, if your paper's way down here, you might have a dot like up here to create like, you know, an actual crazy angle. But just for the fact of showing it, this is, our vanishing points are going to be here. So now you have this and this. So we're going to go ahead and just, you know, once again, you know, they're not crossing that. That's not crossing that. But now, if we do that and that, so we'll actually just create this straight down the middle, and we'll say this actually goes out of the page, so we're looking, and then we'll say, okay, so here's a building. So as you can see, and then we can just create another line. We'll say that one's actually a little taller. So now you have this line here, and this line here. We'll actually use this line. So now you have that, but you need this point to be here. So now you have this going there, you have this going back here, you need this coming down. So as you can see, almost every line in this is creating the building. You know, I'm not doing a vertical line or a straight horizontal line. Everything is, you know, coming from these 3 points, these 3 vanishing points. So you get the idea of, okay, everything is created, and it creates that very dynamic, very, you know, wow, this is, you know, creating the shapes itself. So that is your very basic, you know, 3-point. And then once you get the hang of it, once you can see the angles, you know, you almost don't need to truly follow it if you're not doing it to perfection. And that's the same with 2-point, 1-point. You know, you can create many things. You know, say like with 1-point perspective, if you just understand the concept of 1-point perspective, you can create, you know, a believable 1-point perspective in, you know, just by drawing a few lines that all seem to be going to the same point. You know, but you don't actually have to do that. And the same with, you know, 2-point perspective. You can say, okay, I want to create, you know, a box, and there we go. Now I've just created, you know, 2-point perspective without actually doing all the lines. And same with 3-point. You know, you can create something doing that without, you know, actually following what you're going to do before. So it's just something that, you know, you should think about when you're doing something, that you don't need to actually have these lines. To begin with, I would always, you know, do this, or if you want to do something absolutely perfect, but you don't have to do, you know, these actual lines if you understand the actual principle of it. So it's just something to practice, get good at, and then, you know, create your own, because actually some of the mistakes will create the most real or reality world. Once again, this is the basics of 3-point perspective. It's great for dynamic views, visions, good for fantasy, creating a very unique view of scenery or objects. I'm Renaissance Craft. If you have any questions, let me know.